Are you a financial advisor considering the Independent Registered Investment Advisor, or RIA model, and wondering where to start? Start with Schwab Advisor Services. Schwab has helped thousands evaluate the full range of options and can help you determine your best path forward. Navigate the big and small decisions by tapping into Schwab's decades worth of insights on what fuels RIA success. With Schwab Advisor Services, you have a custodian that will support you every step of the way. Start your journey today at advisorservices.schwab.com/paths.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So while we are observing the solemnness of Good Friday and going into Easter, as well as those of us also celebrating Passover, many of us kind of wonder where the world is right now as it pertains to religion. Where is America on religion? Before COVID, we were hearing that the numbers of young Americans who were religious were just dropping and dropping. And part of the reasons for that was, tech got so big and people were able to, listen to all sorts of different attitudes on religion and God and the theory behind life and the meaning of life. And with tech at our fingertips, people felt more powerful and they were less likely, to believe in a higher power when they saw what man or humans could do as it pertains to tech and progress, etc. But then COVID hit. Now, I'm not saying COVID was the 11th plague, but COVID hits and that really starts to shatter people's kind of foundation of, wait a second, we got this all handled. Where something at any time can afflict us. And, we aren't the highest power here. There is a higher power. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in nature, whether you don't believe in God or you believe in some other spirituality. After COVID, many younger individuals started to have a different take. And what I've noticed in my life is the older I get, the more proof of God I see. So when I was younger, there were a couple instances I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate to have some examples and to be able to see God's work in my particular life. And I was blown away by that. So I was fortunate to have a very early connection with God. But a lot of other people, they don't. Maybe it's because they're distracted. Maybe they're not looking for it. Maybe they're not going through a difficult time in their life where they're asked for help and they get that help. And so when people say, well, the younger people are just throwing religion away, younger people tend to be less religious than older people because older people pick up the signs more. Older people have more opportunities to talk to God. And I believe that we are seeing a shift and more people are embracing religion or embracing a spirituality. One thing that is credited to tech is people are hearing stories from individuals who had near-death experiences, and they're all very similar, where they saw the light or they saw Jesus or their body levitated and they were able to see the whole operating room. And they live, they get resuscitated, so they come back and then they're able to share that. And so younger individuals, because I hear them talk, they're like, okay, there looks like there is something to this. And so one advantage of tech and us being able to communicate with so many other people and get their stories is we're also learning from other people. It's not just what we're hearing, in church or temple or the mosque or from our family. We're getting other people's account going, okay, that's interesting. That's We also are always sinning. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean God's going to throw us all in hell, but we're always sinning. And whether you're Jewish or Christian or Muslim or LDS, you have a different attitude towards how your sins are rectified or addressed or forgiven. And so when we celebrate holidays, if you are pious and religious, you reflect on things. You reflect on what your ancestors went through. You reflect on what people of your family in previous generations had to endure. You reflect on what Jesus endured. You reflect on that, and you also incorporate that history to real life, and you find bridges between what, where even though it could be centuries away, there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of similarities in human nature. There's a lot of similarities in people of disbelief and doubt and evil and good. And so it's something that I think a lot of people are realizing. It's not just religious as a separate art, a separate act, a separate study, where it interweaves into our daily lives. And when people pray and their prayers are answered, or if they pray and their prayers aren't answered, it might make them change and, look at their faith differently. But we all need to, shall we say, find our inner peace and find what makes us put all this together. One of the scariest things I hear from younger generations is it's too hard. Religion is too hard. Having a baby is too hard. Trying to eat right and exercise is too hard. Okay, life was never supposed to be easy. Don't do something because it's too hard. The more difficult it is, the better the rewards. Okay, if medical school was fun, I couldn't even imagine medical school being fun. Okay, medical school was rough, but there's rewards to that. But another thing is, people will feel like another thing that young people are plagued with is they think that when life is over, it's lights out. Where when they leave this earth, if God forbid they, like when you go under for surgery, you don't remember it. It's black. And they think that's what it's like, where you're out. There's no afterlife. There's no heaven. There's no other dimension. Your soul is just done. And that scares people. And what I love about religion is that it offers you an image of why you're here and what happens next. And I told you, I think this is a job interview. God's watching us, seeing what our souls are doing and where he could place us in the afterlife. He's going to leave me because he's like, I can't use her. She's too loud. But for some of us, he brings our souls up with him and he puts them to work, good work. So there's a purpose. Godspeed. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So the Atlantic hurricane season, which affects America more than the Pacific hurricane season, is expected to be above average, but we have some good news, and I'll explain why. Well, the researchers from North Carolina State University and Colorado State University kind of differ a little bit on their prediction. Colorado State University says it's going to be above average. North Carolina State University says it's going to be close to average. So that's a good sign. And it rests on what's happening with La Nina versus El Nino, which I'll explain in a second. So if we go to Colorado State University, which usually is where we get our predictions from when we speak on the show, they are expecting 17 named storms of our current of our upcoming Atlantic hurricane season. Now, our hurricane season starts June 1st, although many experts are suggesting we move the date to May, because there's been a lot of pre-hurricane season storms, and they're thinking that eventually hurricane season is going to start mid-May. But for now, we're still in the clear, being April Easter time, but hurricane season officially starts June 1. And researchers are expecting 17 named storms. The average is 14.4. So 17 named storms, little bit more than average, hence above average. They are predicting 9 of them are going to become hurricanes. Just because we have a storm doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a hurricane. It could be a tropical storm. The winds could be less than 74 miles per hour. It could be a tropical depression. But to be hurricane level, the winds have to be at least 74 miles per hour. They think 9 of those 17 will. In terms of major hurricanes, they are predicting 4 could be classified as major hurricanes. Now, just because we have a major hurricane doesn't mean it hits America. We have seen major hurricanes in the Atlantic, and then it just kind of veers up and it doesn't hit land. It could still affect ships. It could affect fish and other issues, but that doesn't necessarily mean America is going to get hit with 4 major hurricanes. North Carolina State University is a little bit more optimistic. They are predicting a milder but active hurricane season. They are expecting 12 to 15 named storms, which is a little under the 14.4 mean. 6 to 8 of them hurricane, 2 to 3 of which can be classified as major. So September is usually the most active month. We start seeing a lot of activity uptick by August, but August through October is more peak season. But we are always ready by June. So the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale classifies hurricanes as 74 to 95 mile per hour is your category 1. Now, some of us live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we've had gusts of winds over 70 miles per hour. Yeah, we have had hurricane winds where I live. We get very, very windy in the desert, but we don't necessarily call it a hurricane if we're not also having the precipitation. We have very dry winds, very parched. Category 2 is where it's 96 to 110 miles per hour. Category 3 is where it's 111 to 129 miles per hour. Category 4 hurricanes are 130 to 156 miles per hour. And Category 5 winds are over 157 miles per hour. Any of these could be very, very damaging. But once you're at a level 3, it's devastation. So when people say, oh, thank God, well, it's not a 5, it's only a 3. It's not only a 3, and only a 3-level hurricane can be extremely devastating. And then, of course, categories 4 and 5 considered catastrophic damage. So in any given year, the Atlantic Ocean averages 12 to 14 named storms, 6 becoming hurricanes, and 3 becoming major. Major meaning over a category 3 or greater. So one of the biggest hurricanes that we remember in our current lifetime is Hurricane Katrina. I'm sure Hurricane Andrew, there's been tons, depending on how old you are. But Hurricane Katrina was extremely damaging. That was back in 2005. Now, Hurricane Katrina was a category 5. If you remember, it was hovering in the Gulf of Mexico. And it was a slower moving one and got to hover and grow and grow. By the time it hit land and affected New Orleans and the Gulf states, it was a category 3. And that damage was catastrophic, but it hit land as a category 3. It downgraded and still was catastrophic in terms of its damage. It killed over 1,800 people, caused $108 billion in damage, 2005 prices. But the deadliest hurricane to ever hit U.S. soil was the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900. 10,000 people died. And obviously back then they didn't have the predictions. They didn't have the abilities. I was in Galveston a couple years ago, and they have monuments of what happened with the damage, and people didn't know what was coming, and luckily now we have warnings, and so when authorities say, you might want to bounce, get out of here, they mean it. And you need to heed those warnings. I understand a lot of people don't want to get stuck on a freeway, get stuck in an electric car where they can't charge it, get stuck with no gas. But if you are in an area where a hurricane can hit, you have to heed the warnings. So according to Colorado State University researchers, they anticipate that the 2025 Atlantic Basin hurricane season will have above normal activity. Now, why above normal and not severe? Well, this is the good news. Current La Nina conditions are likely to transition to neutral conditions in the next couple months. So usually we have La Nina and El Nino. El Nino is more protective for an Atlantic hurricane season. La Nina is more aggressive. La Nina can fuel a worse hurricane season. We are being told that this year it looks like it's going to be more neutral. Well, if it's going to be more neutral, like Niña-Niño combo, that is going to mitigate some of the risk factors for a higher and more severe hurricane season. They said, however, there does remain considerable uncertainty as to what phase of the ENSO will be this summer and fall. Sea surface temperatures across the eastern and central Atlantic are generally warmer than normal, but not as warm as they were last year at this time. The warmer than normal tropical Atlantic fuels more hurricanes. So the cooler it is, the less severe hurricanes. They say a warmer than normal tropical Atlantic combined with likely ENSO neutral or La Potencia La Nina conditions typically provides a more conducive dynamic and thermodynamic environment for hurricane formation. We anticipate an above average probability for major hurricanes making landfall along the continental United States coastline and in the Caribbean. As with all hurricane seasons, coastal residents are reminded that it only takes one hurricane making landfall to make it an active season. Thorough preparation should be made every season, regardless of predicted activity. So El Nino refers to the ocean-atmospheric interaction where sea surface temperatures rise in the equatorial Pacific, causing a wind shear in the Atlantic equatorial region. And so El Nino usually portends a lower, below average hurricane season. La Nina is the opposite. And so you have below average sea temperatures from the eastern central Pacific Ocean, but a more warmer Atlantic. So the fact that La Nina is not going to be as robust and more neutral is a good sign. So what are the names? What are the Atlantic hurricane names? A lot of us like to kind of predict how bad and which of the hurricanes are going to be bad. Well, the first is Andrea. The second is Barry. We have Hurricane Chantal, Hurricane Dexter. Okay, Dexter, I think, is going to be a bad one. Not because, I've watched, all the seasons of Dexter and Dexter was really, by the way, good. I even like the second one. The follow-up series was really, really good. But I'm worried about Dexter. Hurricane Aaron, Fernand, Gabrielle, Humberto, Imelda, Hurricane Jerry, Hurricane Karen. Hey, I don't know about that one. Hurricane Lorenzo, Hurricane Melissa, Nestor, Olga, Pablo, Rebecca, Sebastian. They spell Sebastian differently. They don't spell Sebastian with the I-A-N. It's I-E-N. So that's intriguing. Hurricane Tanya, Hurricane Van, and Hurricane Wendy. Now, if all 21 names get exhausted, they have 21 additional names, and we've sometimes had to go to the additional names. Those include Adria, Braylon, Cardad, Deshaun, Emery, Foster, Gemma, Heath, Isla, Jacobus, Hurricane Kenzie, Lucio, Michaela, Nolan, Orlando, Pax, Hurricane Pax, that's an interesting one, Ronan, Sophie, Trayshawn, Viviana, and Will. Now, in the Eastern, it's Alvin, Barbara, Cosme, Dalilah, Hurricane Dalilah, not Dahlia, Delilah. Remember, she was that bit, well, we won't go there. Eric, Flossie, Gil, Henriette, Evo, Juliet, Kiko, Lorena, Mario, Narda, Octave, Priscilla, Raymond, Sonia, Tico, Hurricane Velma, Wallace, Xena, York, and Zelda. Hurricane Zelda would worry me. That was a rough game. If there was a Hurricane Daliah, a Hurricane Dahlia would be very, very erratic, would probably kind of go in circles, maybe lean to the right. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Sweet strawberry icing. You were strolling along in goodwill when just past that mid-century side table and denim jacket you spotted them, nestled in their display case. Miniature donut earrings. Oh, yes! Yes! Your favorite half-breakfast pastry, half-all-day dessert food, made into your favorite form of ear candy. Oh my. Those bejeweled sprinkles have satisfied some unknown hunger within you. Shh, do you smell that? That's the sugary scent of shopping success. For this is Goodwill. And with every item you buy, you fund local job training and more. So go forth. Bring home those donut earrings. And bring home so much good to your community. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So every now and then, you'll hear of an influencer who said that they had to pay a really high settlement because they posted a picture that wasn't theirs. And I'm seeing more and more of these stories. But I'm also seeing blogs on people teaching others how to trap social media users. Now, sorry, my allergies are acting up. Oh my God, sorry. So there's a scam that's out there, which somebody would say, well, isn't a scam because they're technically copywriting their work. But basically, and I apologize about my nose, what some individuals are doing are teaching others to take a picture of a random object, a flower, a light post, something that people would use when they post online or blog or something. And they copyright it secretly where there's no seal on the copyright. So you see these pictures, you go through a Google image free or you do a Google search. You say free images or whatever, it pops up, mailbox, what have you. and you grab the picture. There's no copyright on it. You use that picture. There's some lawyers out there that will scan using Google Lens for their clients' pictures that were secretly copywritten. They'll see you posted it or use it, and then they are going to accuse you of copyright infringement. Now, I think the maximum copyright infringement amount is 30 grand. So you get a letter saying you owe them 30 grand. They'll ask for your insurance company, and they'll say pay immediately. They'll also say just taking it down doesn't count. You're still in trouble. Now, if you say, all right, take me to court. Okay, there's no copyright on there. I didn't make money on it. There's no damages. A lot of times they back off, but I'm not an attorney. Get an attorney, because some of these cases could get pretty bad. So many influencers that are getting in trouble for posting pictures are settling with these people for 10 grand, 15 grand. And so they keep going at it, keep doing it. And I wish I found that blog. I'll post it, where somebody is teaching people how to do this, where they say, take a random picture, pay for the copyright, then a few weeks later or months later, Google Lens, anybody who uses it, sue. Well, come on. Now, for those of you who have been posting memes over and over and over again, you're probably getting a little bit nervous. Well, there are some protections. In fact, there's a copyright board. I think it's still active, where if anything ever does go into an actual lawsuit for copyright infringement, there's a copyright board that will look at the case. You don't need an attorney at that point, where you submit the case number, and I guess they review it. And if there weren't any damages, and if it wasn't malicious, if you weren't gaining something from it, if it was something that, there's also an avenue. If they're only going after you, but they're not going after other people, then that could be malicious prosecution. There could be some counter suits. But the truth of the matter is, if somebody copyrights something, they do have the upper hand. And if you don't know that something is copywritten, that's not your only, that's not your, all you have is your defense. And so you need to be very, very careful. And there's a lot of people that are perpetuating pictures, and they could be perpetuating their own pictures knowing full well that they copywrote them, so that you could then get in trouble. I think the minimum amount to get charged would be, I think, $250. I think that's the minimum fine. But the maximum fine, I believe, is like 30 grand. And these influencers are coming out saying, I just had to pay a settlement because I used somebody else's picture. And you're like, but did you know it was copyright? Did you, was it fair use? Were you using it to educate others? Did you make any money on it? Were there any damages? And so these and it's a business that a lot of people make. And please don't do that as your own business. Okay. If you have a copyright picture, then copyright it. Let people know it's yours, that it's your material, etc. But there's a lot of people in harm's way, and then they're embarrassed, so they don't talk about it, because they don't want people to think that they did something wrong, and them and a million other people by the hour are reposting pictures, reposting memes. And so I just wanted to warn you guys. Now, I'm not an attorney, so definitely talk to an attorney. My guess is, if it's a very common meme where everybody is, use it like that one picture of Leonardo DiCaprio as the Great Gatsby, drinking his martini, laughing. That meme is on a whole bunch of different things. Being that everybody and their mother has been using that, that picture came from a movie. I guess the movie could sue, but there's so many other pictures out there that you just don't know where it came from. And the fact that these individuals have come up with businesses where Google Lens allows you to click on a picture and find out where the source came from or where else it's being used. And that's something that a lot of these people are using if they go and quickly copyright their picture. So, I love memes. I think the stuff is funny when you share. Wasn't there something that happened where one of our local newspapers were suing people for sharing the story? And I don't really remember what ended up happening because on social media, people were like, oh, you got to read about this and I don't want to name the paper. But we don't have a lot of papers in my neck of the woods, so I'm sure people know which paper it is. And then that paper started to sue people for sharing the article when it was actually advertising for them. And then now I think the paper actually has a share link or a Twitter link, but that's another thing you need to be careful of. If you want to share a news article, don't just copy and paste. Make sure you're clicking on what it says in terms of like Facebook, X, LinkedIn, so that it's advertising to link it so you don't get in trouble. But it's, we're in this world right now where you would think that, there are already standards and nobody's going to be doing anything wrong. This is kind of what everybody's doing. But you have people out there. And again, I get where if you worked really hard, your picture is your art. And you posted something, you did something, then somebody takes a picture and uses it for their own good. That's why copyright protects people. I wrote a book for medical students, and I found this site where it was downloaded hundreds of thousands of times. Now, you know what? I don't mind because it helps students. It was a copyright violation, and Amazon did nothing about it. But you know what? It helps students. I don't mind. But when it is your work, it is your work. It is your property. And if somebody is using it to make money off of, that's why we have laws to protect people. But knowing that there are these scams out there where they are telling people this is a great way for you to make $30,000 or $15,000 a pop. Take random pictures of things, then get ownership of that picture. And anytime somebody uses it, you threaten with a lawsuit. And before it even goes to the lawsuit phase, they'll pay up to settle. It's kind of scary. So I just want to kind of make you guys be aware that kind of stuff is going on. I understand that people will, want to share information like the shooting that happened at the Florida State University and they got the guy. I want to alert people. And so if that news article has that option to share, I'm going to share it because I want people to be aware. I'm not going to make up the news. Give credit where credit is due. But if you do, not know, who that picture is from, don't use it. Or if you do, give credit to protect yourself. 1-877-DOC-Daliah. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, The New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions: Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So here we are talking about how smartphones are bad. It's ruining kids. It's ruining our lives. Well, now we have a study saying that actually there's a positive to smartphone use. They say it could reduce dementia risk in older adults. I actually agree with that. I don't think young kids should be on smartphones. I think they should have access to contact their mom and dad, but I don't think they should be playing on smartphones. But older people, I love it. I'm actually totally fine with that. Why? Because they say digital technology use is linked to a 58% lower risk of cognitive impairment. They say the first generation that has been exposed consistently to digital technology has reached the age where symptoms of dementia tend to emerge. But some have claimed that while it can negatively impact cognitive abilities, Baylor University said, nope, the opposite. According to study co-author Michael Scullin, said you can flip on the news on just about any day and you'll see people talking about how technologies are harming us. People often use the terms brain drain and brain rot, and now digital dementia is an emerging phrase. But so they wanted to investigate and see if it's true. So according to Fox News, the researchers analyzed past studies to determine the impact of technology on mental aging. They published their findings in the journal Nature Human Behavior, suggesting that digital technologies can actually preserve cognitive abilities. Why? Well, they went through a meta-review analyzing 136 studies that included 400,000 adults with an average of 6 years of follow-up data. They concluded that the use of digital technology correlated with a 58% lower risk of cognitive impairment after they adjusted for age, gender, education level. And they think it's because there's a few things, okay? One is you aren't just sitting there watching TV. There's variety on your smartphone. And so it might be tapping in on different things that the brain has to do. So you might watch a video and it make you laugh. You might be looking at a, like they have these brain teasers. Sometimes when I'm on Facebook, there's this brain teaser. And so I'm going to think about it and see if I can answer it or if I could see the optical illusion. There might be a conversation or a question, or you have to respond back. And so one leading cause of dementia or contributing factor is lack of socializing. Being isolated. Well, if people are on social media communicating with others, that can stave off that risk. Now, I am of the belief that the smartphones are hurting our brains overall. The fact that the majority of us do not remember our friends' telephone numbers, do not remember family members' telephone numbers. I have no idea what my sister's phone number is. I know I can hit a button on my phone. I don't know what her number is. I don't know what my brother's phone number is. I used to know it, and then they changed it, and I never had to learn it. So that bothers me. I mean, when I was in school, if a boy gave me his number, I would just be, reciting it in my brain all the way home until I could write it down, and then I would sing a song about it, and it would be in my mind. What was it? 857-9309. I mean, you can make songs about things, and you could. Now we don't do that. We don't have to do it. It's in the phone. Call me. I'll do an add connection or add contact, and you never even look at the phone number. You don't even look at the area code. So our reliance on smartphone technology, I don't think is the best thing for our brains overall. I mean, how many times have you done a math problem Now we use our calculator on the phone, or we ask Siri to do it. Every time I need a calculation, I ask Siri. Well, I could do it myself. I could write it down and do it myself. So I think on the whole, yes, we are getting very lazy with our brains. We're also becoming very vulnerable. The fact that we're not adding and subtracting ourselves or dividing ourselves or figuring out a tip. I am blown away when I see people use their phone to calculate a tip at the restaurant. I'm like, you don't know how to come up with 20%, 15 or 20%? It's easy. But no, people are using their calculator. And again, I'm not judging, but things that we used to do, we're not doing anymore. So, you snooze, you lose. If you're not doing it, you lose that function. But older individuals are now becoming more tech savvy. Another thing that is helping them, another reason why I think the smartphones are helping them, is these older individuals are now up on current events. So, there's one of my friend's moms is in her 90s. And every time I talk to her, she's watched the news. She's aware of the news. And so we talk about current events. Whereas, if, I read in the paper or, it allows you to get real-time news. And so when the grandchildren are talking about something, the grandparents know, yeah, I know there's a Minecraft movie coming out. Jack Black's in it, and Jason Momoa is it? Who's very hot, by the way. I want to see the Minecraft movie. They'll talk about it. They'll be able to understand what the kids are talking about, as opposed to, the family is talking about something current, and the grandparent is completely in the dark. So our seniors are having a lot more access to relevant topics. I thought it was ridiculous to see Katy Perry kissing the ground. Really? Only 11 minutes in space? Come on. Dramatic. And then the younger kids are like, oh, so you saw that too? And then they talk and interact with grandma or grandpa about that. And so these smartphones are allowing that sort of access. Another thing is, we used to have to go to a library. You had to ride a bus, or get public transportation or take your vehicle to go to the library. Many seniors don't drive. Well, now they have access to that even without driving. Not to mention they're also able to shop for themselves. They're able to come up with recipes. They're able to, having all this knowledge at your fingertips is making them more functional. So, the independence starts to be salvaged. But it could also hide a lot of things. And so I'm a big fan of technology progress. I don't want to see clone babies, things like that. But I love the fact that we have abilities where you could talk to your phone and it could call 911, or it could call a family member for you. If you fall and you're not by your phone, yet it knows your voice, and you could say, call, my daughter or call my son to pick me up. I mean, that's huge. That's life-saving. Or call 911, etc. And so don't be afraid to have a senior have access to that. Now, mind you, it's expensive. These smartphones are thousands of dollars. The Wi-Fi, the phone server, what you have to pay for in terms of service, and the texting, it's a lot. And it is expensive, but I think eventually they will get cheaper. And so I think we'll definitely see some progress in that. But if you do have a senior and you think they're kind of being left out, I think that's important to look at. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, I just want to, wish everybody, blessings on this Good Friday and coming into Easter weekend and Passover. Passover is not easy for those of us that, haven't had carbs. We get pretty constipated. But times like this, especially a week like this, which is, one of the, more solemn weeks of the year, reminds us that, we're grateful. There's a higher power, and, love each other. It's a good time, and, blessings to all. 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.